Real quickly before I jump into the video, if you guys want to try out G Fuel, today is the last day for the 30% offer going on currently. That's going to expire in just a little bit of time, so if you guys want to check something out, make sure you go over there, use code ESPRESSO for 30% off your entire order. But back to the regular scheduled content. Today was the update for Black Ops 4. We got update 1.22, and naturally along with it, being that it was 11.4 gigabytes on PlayStation 4 and probably relatively the same on Xbox One, PC is still to follow. There's a lot of stuff that we got to cover here today in what actually changed. Today we're going to break down everything that changed for you guys here in this and let you know everything you need to keep you in the loop and keep you in the know. So there's a lot up on deck. Let's just jump into it. First things first, the update itself, 1.22 went live earlier today. Again, 11.4 gigabytes, relatively the same on Xbox One. So you need to download that depending on your internet speed and how long it takes you to copy if you're on PlayStation 4. Could be a little bit longer here before you can jump in for the first time, but if you have that all out of the way already, well then you can jump in first thing and experience everything for yourself. The first things you might notice though when you're actually on the dashboard is that it's got a new loading screen icon and even a new game icon on the dashboard. The pre-loading screen, if you want to call it that, showcases a little bit of what's still to come and what's also been added. The things that have yet to come though include Ted here at this one. He wasn't in reserves, but is likely to be coming to a special order here throughout the rest of the operation. Then we end up seeing things like the Ajax uniform seen in the tiers, the Swap Master Craft, which is in reserves, and so on and so forth. But once you get past all that kind of stuff, you load into the game, you'll end up noticing that there's a new main menu for game modes of MP, Blackout, and Zombies. Of course, League play is still the same. The featured game modes on the main menu this time are Infected Final Stand for multiplayer, Pandemic for Blackout, and Duck and Cover for Zombies. Now, across all the modes, kind of now encompassing here at the top-down perspective, is the new end game goal for this second half of the operation, a new set of tiers. This comes along with 60 tiers this time, so evening out on the operation to 100 total. We saw that the first half of Operation Apocalypse Z only had 40, but with this, it's a little bit of a different approach. We end up seeing that of these 60 tiers, 10 of them are actually reserve cases, and among that, we end up seeing a reactive camo called Spinal Tap, a few uniforms, which are actually pretty cool. I'm not a huge uniform guy, but some of these did stand out to me. An Ultra Weapon Bribe at the end, among plenty of other tags, stickers, and calling cards alike that we normally see here with this. So an elongated contraband stream with a decent amount of filler content here with this one. Additionally, the operation split as a whole is set to end in 47 days and a few hours and change, which seems to be a bit more than our standard operation length. I believe the first half was 28 days or 4 weeks total, then another 48 given the full length from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time today to update day at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's two things here. One, it's 76 days, which is 6 days longer than our normal operations, and two, will take us to the 23rd of September, which is a Monday. And we haven't seen an update or operation rollover on a Monday ever this year, nor have we seen a DLC day on a Monday ever, if I'm not mistaken, which leaves me with a few questions here. One, is the given date a mistake? Is it something that's going to be changed? We saw that happen with, I believe, Absolute Zero, maybe Grand Heist. One of those earlier operations ended up having days added on to even out to be 70 days long. Two, is it really going to be that long an event? If there are no additions made to it, that is kind of strange that with an operation left, we have a longer one pushing it further back. And three, again, what does that mean then for Operation 6, the final operation in Black Ops 4? That date would be the day the beta ends for Modern Warfare, but then it's only a month left until Modern Warfare launches, so we'd really only have a condensed operation to close things out, if any at all, especially given that Xbox One and PC get things a week later. So instead of 4-5 weeks, you have 3 or 4 weeks on Xbox One and PC. So I'm sure this will all be answered in the upcoming days with a few refreshes in, and there's a few things that do need hot fixed, as we'll talk about later on in this video, but it's certainly strange right now what we have up on deck for what we see. Now, along with this, we'll talk about there's a lot of different contents that I'm sure a lot of you guys know right up front, new weapons being the biggest one here out of this, but I want to focus more so on the updates that don't cost the players anything here to begin with, and then as we move on a little bit later, we'll talk about those additions that will take you a bit of time to grind out or that are locked behind a paywall depending on how you approach it. Now, talking a little bit about the game modes in particular, let's talk about the big additions for each of these. Let's start out with MP. Personally, I really enjoyed the main playlist update here for MP, this being Infected Final Stand. It's live on PlayStation 4 right now. Xbox One and PC will follow next week, but it's a round-based mini-Infected game. Survivors have a preset loadout that they can choose from. There's a couple. It's like how Infected was before. The Infected have combat axes, Survivors have no respawns, and the Infected have 20 total lives. So your goal as the Infected naturally is to get rid of everybody, and you as a Survivor, you're meant to survive. Now, survivors, whenever they're tomahawked or knifed, they're knocked initially, so make sure you clean them up, but it's the first team to 4 rounds that wins. You win a round by either surviving or by eliminating the survivors. Honestly, I think this was a cool little hybrid between Infected, Control, and maybe TDM. I really liked it. It was a refreshing curveball that I had no clue was going to be happening jumping into this, so it's a welcome surprise. As for Blackout, this is where we see one of the big flagship things for Operation Apocalypse Z. Pandemic is the big thing that was added here out of this update, and probably is the flagship game mode across MP, Blackout, or Zombies for this particular update as well. This supports up to 80 players, but it's a PvPvZ mode. You have to worry about the other enemy teams plus the zombies that end up coming around, and it's not like they're AI zombies like we normally see, both in the zombies area spawns on the regular map or pretty much all around in Alcatraz. Once you die, you're turned into a zombie and you can respawn every 15 seconds. You have 100 HP, 2 Hell's Retrievers which do 100 damage each, and you can melee for 50 damage, but if you're a survivor, you have to increasingly watch out for the ever-increasing horde and the surviving players as well. Now, you want to be the last remaining survivor or by wiping out the other survivors as the horde moves in the final circle, but when you get to that final zone, you'll have a minute countdown to beat and stay alive. But at the end, good lord, is it a wild one? I've won twice so far, but it was a hell of a time each time. But here's the kicker. It's like Infected, so your teammates in your party could lose and you could win if you end up surviving. And they're a zombie if that's the case, and you'd be alive. So you can have a split decision, which is kind of weird. I know that happened the first time I won a game, and my team was like, oh, so we get the win, right? And then they were like, oh, no, we lost. But anyways, it is a ton of fun, and I really, really do enjoy this mode so far. It might be up there, and this is probably still the honeymoon phase, but it might be up there as my favorite LTM in Blackout as of the time right now. And of course, it's a nice little one to pad the stats a little bit in terms of showing off how many kills you have, because each zombie counts as a kill as well. And they only have 100 health and very little to fight back with, so you can end up dropping a hefty tally of kills if you land hot and with a lot of players and in the middle of a lot of zombies. Now, one thing I will say is you'll probably run into a lot of errors currently, though. Hopefully it's resolved as of the time of this video going up, but for the time being, there were tons of connection interrupted issues that I had, a few blue screens, but Matt Schrantz, senior game designer at Treyarch, has already confirmed that a fix is coming. They just don't know when it will be pushed out, but apparently they've isolated the problem and have a fix on the way. So that's just a heads up for that part. But additionally, in Blackout, Alcatraz Portals is back. It's no longer the Horde variation, but it still has the darker and night variation of that map as well. Standard Blackout also has the tactical bike in the standard Blackout map as well. It's a little less foggy, a little less dark. It's kind of transitioning into being a regular map once again. For zombies, honestly, I'm going to breeze through this one because unfortunately there's not really much outside of this, but the duck and cover gauntlet was added in here at this one. 30 rounds of a unique challenge, tons of fun. Check it out if you guys want to. DLC 4 should be coming in the next month and a half or so, so here's the hoping that Zombies gets a little bit more of updates here coming soon, but for the time being, this is literally all there is. No Jungle Flooded was added as of yet right now, that map variation that's said to be coming in season. We'll have to wait and see until Thursday if it's in the current build that we have right now. If not, then it'll probably let us know that we'll have in maybe say 3 weeks or so another title update to bring in a second half of this second half of the event, if that makes sense. Outside of that, the only other things for playlists added in were PlayStation 4 on the MP side has Infected Final Stand, Endurance Chaos Mosh Pit, Bare Bones Mosh Pit, Mercenary Deathmatch Mosh Pit, and Bolt Action Bare Bones. Xbox One has Chaos Domination and the rest of the modes as well. For Blackout on PlayStation 4, Pandemic, Alcatraz, Quads, Duos, and Solos are there. And of course, since Pandemic isn't available on Xbox One just yet, it's Alcatraz, Hordes, Hardcore Quads, Quads, Duos, and Solos on Xbox One. Now, contracts across all 3 modes have actually been slightly buffed, and I say buffed very minimally because it's something that does add a baseline, but it doesn't really change all that much because I can't say that I've experienced anything outside of this, so it feels like it was already there, but apparently it wasn't. But that said, there is now going to be, outside of the hard mode contracts, at least 1 daily contract for each of the modes that will reward a reserve case. Whereas previously, apparently you could have it where they just all give XP, and the only ones that would actually give you anything in terms of cases were the harder challenges. So that's something that adds, again, a little bit of a baseline, not too much of a buff, but technically still is. As for other technical fixes, let's start out on MP because we did get a few things here that got changed out. The S6 Stingray Operator Mod had a slight change to this where it reduced the 2-hit kill range from 32 meters to 22 meters. It slightly reduced the explosive damage and slowed the fire rate as well. As for another technical fix, the Damon 3XB Imaginator Mastercraft now levels up properly, whereas it was bugged before and would not. Apparently, also seemingly via bug, the G-Slide is back from Black Ops 3, which is further and faster sliding. I wouldn't imagine this was something that was intentional, but it seems like people can slide further and faster now after this as well. Now that's the free content. That's the stuff that you don't have to pay for, you don't have to grind out super hard for outside of the 60 tiers, but the rest, well, the rest was added into reserves, as we all know and we all knew would be happening, but it's something that there's some cool stuff added in here now with this. We end up seeing there's 3 new weapons: the Javelina AA-50 sniper rifle, the M16, and the full stop melee weapon. The melee weapon, though, was added into the game via this update, but is not available in reserves. That will be something that comes to the shop more than likely, just like how we saw the backhander melee weapon be introduced a couple of weeks back now at this point. But we have those 2 new weapons of the M16 and the Javelina sniper. We have a couple of different weapon camos like Paradise, Evergreen, Bubble Gunk, and Arabesque. There's unfortunately new weapon charms that come along with this as well. We end up seeing that we have the Temple of Boom SWAT Mastercraft, a Mark II for the Stingray, as well as the Peacekeeper and the Tiger Shark, among other things. So there is, of course, a lot of stuff that was added in that is worthwhile, but unfortunately stuck in reserves. I haven't quite decided yet if I want to talk about this a little bit further tomorrow. I know a lot of people really want to hear another rant video, but truth be told, man, like I'm past the point of caring, and I don't mean that in the sense that this doesn't bother me. It's just time and time again, things consistently have proven to go further and further and further despite the apparent backlash from everyone in the community. I almost feel like I'm listening to the Borgs from Star Trek at this point. Resistance is futile. Like, I don't know, man. So I don't know if I'll be talking about this as of tomorrow. It is what it is, but closing it out, we did see that a shop update was added in as well. Things did not disappear like they did when they bugged out last time we had an Operation Split added in. Days of Summer removed everything and then brought it back the day later, but this one just added in the next week on top of this, to which it kind of got worse. We thought, how could it? But we end up seeing now that we have the Gray Matter bundle for this. It's a reactive camo. We had the Grinder, post-apocalyptic steampunk variation kind of Reaper, and then the Afterburner Mastercraft for the Rampart, which based off of its video is taking after a fighter jet. All of these ended up having bundles included in them, and 2 of the 3 had Duke protected bundles, meaning they're bumping up the price even more. The Gray Matter bundle is 1,600 COD points, the Grinder bundle is 2,000 COD points, and the Afterburner is 1,900 COD points. If you wanted just these 3 items, you'd pay for just about the same as you'd buy the standard and base game. It's over $50 just for this week alone. But anyways, that's the update here. That's everything that changed with update 1.22 and Black Ops 4 today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is there anything in particular that you're particularly fond of? I really enjoyed Pandemic. I truthfully had a blast with that. I'm excited to jump back in here and get that. Not a fan of a lot of the stuff added in outside of that in terms of the contraband stream and also the shop. I don't like what they're doing there and seemingly pushing even further down that rabbit hole. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, MP, Blackout, Zombies. We got you covered the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, let's end out. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. See you guys later. Take care and peace.